but also before then.
Let's talk then about the Senate. You actually have decided to hold off for now about endorsing Senate candidates who are incumbents. I mean, your natural allies in the past have been the Senate Democrats because the Reproductive Health Act, as you noted, has been sort of hanging out there in limbo and they haven't been able to bring it to the floor.
You know, they haven't, and when you look at the Republican-led Senate, although it was anti-choice, we actually were able to work with them occasionally to get important legislation done. The Women's Health and Wellness Act, which mandated insurance coverage for mammography and for contraception, that actually passed with Republican leadership. It had a lot of Republican votes. I think over half the Republican caucus voted for it. But that being said, we knew on the fundamental issue that, you know, it was important to elect pro-choice leadership. And that's why we worked so hard over the years on pivotal campaigns for the Democrats. Certainly the Craig Johnson race in Nassau County was a race where this issue played extremely heavily and was one of the key issues that Craig Johnson won. And in the last legislative or electoral cycle for state Senate, we put people into each of the campaigns. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. We really made it a priority, and that's why it's so disappointing this time that for some reason they feel like our voters are there for them because, you know, because they always have been. But I just would say to any incumbent that it's very risky to assume certain voting patterns and to assume that people are going to turn out. And I've always said that once you hit the border of New York City, you know, New York looks a lot like the rest of the country in as much as it's the quote-unquote mommy party, and it really matters to independent and Democratic women and a lot of Republican women as well, where candidates stand.
But really, where are they going to go, though? That's the thing. I mean, and we should note also that NARAL did endorse a number of Democratic candidates for Senate, just not the incumbents who so far haven't managed to bring this signature issue to the floor because of a number of problems. I mean, we know what they are. For example, you have some of the swing marginals who are in more conservative areas, and they don't need yet another issue to be hung on them when there are so many dysfunctional problems that can be hung on the majority at this moment.
Exactly.
So, but really, where are these voters going to go? I mean, they're not going to go and vote for a person like, you know, I don't know, Rick Lazio, for example. I mean, they're not going to go and vote for the Republicans. He's on the conservative line. I know he's more moderate on choice. Now we're talking, I'm moving into the gubernatorial, but I guess writ large is what I'm saying. Voters, and particularly people who have a habit of voting on choice issues, are probably not going to gravitate towards the more conservative Republicans, no matter what you guys do.
Right, but where these voters go is home. The challenge in this election cycle is to motivate voters, and you know, one of my arguments all year long in the session for the Senate was really to say there needs to be some things achieved that really show those people who showed up passionately on a number of issues that there's a reason that the Democrats are in power, that the values that these voters have are sort of reflected by the Democratic conference. And when that doesn't happen and you start taking voters for granted, voters stay home. And that's, I think, the bigger peril here, is that people stay home. It's not that they're going to cross over and vote for an anti-choice candidate necessarily. It's just that they're not motivated. And I think that is going to be the issue of 2010.
Yeah, nationally and in the state, and that's what's making this such a hard election cycle to game out. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but Kelli Conlin, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Liz.